All right. Hello, Boston Admissions. Greetings from NCR. We're going to take a few minutes to demonstrate for you the paperclip critical thinking exercise that we use in the group interview, so that way you can get a feel for what it looks like. So the first thing you'll need is this, which is the critical thinking exercise sheet that you can find on Eugene, and they would normally be blank, but we just did some pre-work. And I'm going to go right into facilitating what this looks like, and then kind of point out based on what you see from the group, kind of what we would observe and take away from it. So with that, we'll take it away. All right, Year Up future students, we are going to now move on to an interactive called the paperclip activity. So I'm giving you these sheets of paper that are blank, and for the next 5 minutes, I want you to take some time and quietly, so this is an individual activity, think of as many uses for a paperclip as you can, other than holding papers together. And so what we're looking for in this activity is for you to kind of think outside the box, and obviously there's 14 options, so we want you to come up with as many as you can. And with that, I'm going to give you a few minutes to work quietly, and then we'll kind of come back together and see what everybody has. Are there any questions?
Well, that sounds good.
Okay, great. All right, you can go ahead and get started. Yeah,
I can't think of anything. Me either. I mean, paper cups on paper.
Okay, so if you, what I definitely suggest you do is take a moment and think about it. That's why we give you 5 minutes. Sometimes it takes a minute to think of some, but try to think of a few.
All right, I'll try.
Yes.
If I get the most, do I win something?
So it's really about, I'll give you a high five and a handshake. But I think it definitely shows, you know, your persistence and your critical thinking and problem solving if you come up with extra. So. Okay, so let's pretend 5 minutes have passed. All right, folks, the 5 minutes are up. So now what I would love to do is just hear from some folks on some uses that you came up with for the paperclip. Yes, Brandon.
I think I got 12. How many did you get?
Okay, so before we get to how many we all got, let's just hear from some folks about what you came up with. Yes.
I had the fishing hook.
Fishing hook.
Anybody else have that one?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that actually was
did.
really good.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
I have something similar. I was dating this girl in high school, and she broke up with me, so I baked her a cake, and I put the paper clips inside the cake, so when she ate into the cake, it would stab her in the mouth.
Okay.
Wow.
So thank you for sharing. What we want to remember is this is an interview,
Oh.
and we really want to be putting our best kind of professional selves forward. So other thoughts? Yes.
If I don't have any, can I still get in?
So if you don't have anything to share, what I suggest is that you just listen.
Can I still get in?
So this isn't the only determining factor. So just sit tight and listen to the group.
Yeah.
Other uses, yes.
To reset something,
Yes. Would you like to give an example?
like your phone, like we need to hard reset it.
Absolutely. Others. Any from this side? Yes.
Hold papers together.
Hold papers together. Yes. That is an original use of a paperclip. We'll go over here.
I lost like 20 pounds in a bet, and so I picked you could punch holes in your belt.
You could punch holes in your belt. Yes. Did you have your hand up?
You could use them to hold clothes together. You know, sometimes you need a safety pin. You
That's
don't have
right.
one. Use a paper clip.
That's right.
The girl I was dating was only in the hospital for 3 days.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now, these are all really great, thank you for sharing. I'd love to see how many people came up with more than one.
Yeah.
All right, how about more than 3?
Yep.
More than 5?
Yep.
More than 8?
Not more than I got.
More than 10?
Booyah! Right here.
Okay.
Right here.
All right,
Thank
well
you.
thank you all for participating. I'm going to ask you to pass your papers over to me, and we'll move on to the next activity. We'll talk later. Okay, all right, so let's quickly talk through some things. These are some staff members, Brandon, Shereen, Dave, Rhonda, Meredith, Candace, Cliff, and Ty, and Umar is our photographer. So a couple things that are important that we observe and take note of as we're doing the group interview. So first and foremost, we had Brandon here, and so what we would note about Brandon is that he wasn't really responding to redirection when I was asking him to sit tight. he just wasn't really making room for others to talk and just really focused on winning, which is sometimes good, but I think it's something we would want to note and follow up with him on in the individual interview. Cherie said pretty much nothing, and so that would be something we would probably note, recognizing that people are different in individual and group settings, but just to see further with her, her response to this activity and what she felt and what her experience was like. Dave was interesting, and we have definitely seen this before, where they cannot think of anything, and so they just sit there. And for us, on our end, that would be a red flag, something we would want to coach them on in the individual interview, because not only would he sit there, but he really just wanted to know what happens next, am I in, and wasn't really open. I think on the observation sheet it talks about willing to try things out of comfort zone, and this would be a no. Rhonda was an example of some positive behavior that we see here. Good eye contact, really responsive. If you heard her to some responses, she was offering them positive reinforcement around, oh, that's a good idea, or, oh, nice job, which is a thing we would note because that's fantastic, as you all know, in a learning community. Candace was interesting and something we see too. She also, like Dave, originally was like, I can't think of anything, but as she sat there and we pushed her a little bit, she responded and then engaged really well in the activity. So something we would want to bring up with her on, but then kind of thank her for her willingness to think about it and then try it. Cliff was pretty standard. He was participating, doing a good job. He did give, oh yes, I wasn't listening. So Cliff, what an interesting thing about Cliff is he only had one answer, and that was the answer that I said not to give. So something to follow up with him about. And Ty, sometimes you see with this activity the uses are not appropriate, like if they want to break into something, or his use was using it as a weapon and his story was just inappropriate, which I think then led Brandon to share something personal that you might not have in an interview, so we would really want to follow up with him on that. So at the end of the activity, we collect these and put them in their file, so that way the interviewer has the opportunity to review them and use anything you see here in the interview. We don't do the scoring at the bottom. We purely use this for observation on behavior to coach after this step. And so that's critical thinking. So thank you, and if you have any questions, just let NCR know. Thanks, Boston.
Bye.
Bye.